What was the coziest newly released game of 2023? We're gonna find out what my personal coziest game of 2023 is with a bracket, not a tier list, a bracket. People use brackets when they play football and stuff, fantasy football, I think, and when you're in a tournament for a sport, but no. We're doing it for cozy games. I thought this would be a fun way to not only talk about how the cozy game genre has become this like umbrella term for so many types of games. I have 34 games that I included in this video, and I did not choose any games that were early access, and I only chose new releases from 2023. And those are for reasons that I probably don't need to explain, but basically early access games aren't fully complete yet, so I didn't want to count them. And I only did for 2023 because it's easier and because 2023 is coming to an end. So let's talk about which game was the coziest that I played, because I'm not going to rank games I didn't play. Also, these are all my opinions and based on my personal definition of coziness and what makes a cozy game. You might have your own definition, and that's totally okay and fine. And what makes a cozy game to you might be different than what makes a cozy game to me. Some games in this list I did call cozy games throughout the year, but I felt like that term didn't quite fit them because they were way more chaotic than games I typically play, and they weren't always relaxing. They were kind of stressful sometimes. So I feel like sometimes the cozy game genre can have games in it that are much more chaotic than what you'd really think of when you think of cozy gaming, and I feel like we could even use like a term wholesome games for those types of games, because they're still wholesome. Cozy gamers will still like them, but they're definitely chaotic and not really that relaxing. So that's just a random thought that I'm talking about right now. I don't know why. So we need to know what my definition of coziness is. A long time ago, I tried to do a concept video kind of like this, where I talked about coziness and I ranked the coziness of games. This is an older video. I feel like I've gotten better at making videos since that, but if you want to check it out, please feel free to. I will link it up in the little eye above. But my definition of coziness is how safe, comfy, and relaxing a game makes me feel. So we need to talk about what does safety mean. So safety is how safe a game makes you feel. You should not feel on edge, in danger, or fearful. And comfort is how at ease the content of the game makes you feel. That could be the story, the environment, the setting of the game, the art. And comfort typically goes hand in hand with like warm fuzzy feelings. So did you get a warm fuzzy feeling from the game? And lastly, relaxation, which I think is probably a term most people link with cozy gaming. So relaxation is how soothing the play of the game is for you. Does the gameplay help you wind down? Is the gameplay calming? So all of these things go hand in hand and make up coziness. So that's what I'm using to determine my decisions. I'm also not going to explain in depth what each game is, because that's not what this video is about. If you want to see more reviews or things more in depth about what the games are, then you can watch some of my other videos because I go into more depth there. So that's about it, and we're gonna finally get started. So first I had to write down every single game that I played this year that I wanted to include in this list. Then I broke them up into 3 brackets, and then I realized I could just put it all in one bracket. But I organized them by similar games and tried to put similar games against each other. Sometimes it doesn't always work, and so a weird game will be against each other, but that's gonna happen anyway as we get further along in the bracket. So I did my best. If there's anything you feel like I could have done better, I probably could have done it better, but I didn't think about it because I don't always think that hard about the things that I do. Okay, starting with Coral Island versus Paleo Pines. Coral Island is a really beautiful farming sim that just fully released, and Paleo Pines is a dinosaur farming sim, life sim as well. So Coral Island is definitely leaning towards more comfy to me off the bat, and especially more safe when it comes to the coziness, because you can turn off the combat and all of that stuff, but Paleo Pines, you don't have combat. But I did feel ultimately more stressed while playing Paleo Pines, and that's not very relaxing. I just felt a little more lost in that game than I did with Coral Island. and I really like the open-endedness of Coral Island and choosing, like having quests, but also choosing my own. Where Paleo Pines, I could come up with quests, but I couldn't figure out how to do the actual in-game things I needed to do to get to the quests. So for me, I'm gonna go with Coral Island. Next one is Roots of Pacha versus Sunhaven. Sunhaven came out earlier in the year. It seems so long ago. And then Roots of Pacha came out in around April, I believe, to Steam. And then recently it just released on Nintendo Switch as well. And I obviously am a huge Roots of Pacha fan. I love it, love it, love it. I do feel safe in that game. There's no combat in that game. There's a lot of cute animals in the game that are just so cute. And it did really make me feel relaxed. And then Sunhaven, which is an awesome farming sim as well, has a lot of fantasy elements, really fun decorating, cute little plushies in the game, really big museum. I think Sunhaven comes off a lot more overwhelming to me with so much to do, where Roots of Pacha gradually like gives you things to do. And so I'm gonna say Roots of Pacha comes off as more cozy to me. And now we have Palia versus Fae Farm. Now this is a kind of a weird one to be against each other, but Palia is I guess it's not an MMO. I don't even know, but I thought it was. I thought that's what people were saying. You play online with other players who are just like kind of running around in the game as well as you are. It's presented as a farming sim, but it's a lot more open world and questy and running around and doing stuff. And then Fae Farm is called the farming sim, but you really go through these quests and do a lot of mining. And it can be pretty brutal with the amount of like grinding you have to do in those mines. So I'm gonna say that Palia is actually cozier, even though I actually lean more into liking the gameplay of Fae Farm. I do feel like Palia is more cozy. Now we're on to Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life versus Everdream Valley. These are both farming sims. I would say Everdream Valley kind of went their own direction as a farming sim. Instead of taking a lot of inspiration from Harvest Moon and Stardew Valley, it was more open-ended. It has similarities, but it was more about these fun dreams you can have at night with the mini games and running around, and it feels more open world with a huge map. I did feel like this game felt a little more clunky, a little more confusing for me. I didn't really like this gameplay style, but when it comes to Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life, although this game isn't for everyone, it is very, very cozy, and it has a really slow gameplay to it, really cute animals, really fun like shop selling. You can do some mini games. It has beautiful storytelling with the NPCs. So I'm gonna say Story of Seasons, A Wonderful Life is the coziest out of the two for me. Okay. Ooblets versus Moonstone Island. The reason I put these two against each other is because they both have card-based combat. Now, Ooblets technically came out on Nintendo Switch last year, but I played it for the first time this year, so I cheated it into the thing here because it released on Steam this year in 2023. So Ooblets is really fun and colorful and poppy and just brings your mood up with the dancing and the cuteness of all of the cute little Ooblets. And so it definitely provides that warm, fuzzy feeling. Moonstone Island does this a little differently. Their card combat is a little more combat-y, where Ooblets is dance party vibes. And Moonstone Island has a lot of exploration, which is really fun, but it also has a lot less safety than Ooblets because you might get to an island where you're getting shocked by lightning or you're lit on fire and your energy's gonna go down. So even though I love both of these games and I love Moonstone Island a ton, I'm gonna say that Ooblets is actually the cozier of these two games. Okay, now we've got Homestead Arcana versus Harvest Island. The reason I put these two against each other is because they are the eeriest farming sims on the list that I had. Homestead Arcana, it doesn't even have that much farming really, but it was told me it was a farming sim. It does have a little bit of farming, and you play as a witch. You go in this miasma and you have to find things, and then you have to like run out, and it's very stressful. And then Harvest Island is a really, really slow paced like horror game. And I played it for a lot of hours and I didn't really experience any horror. I actually felt like that game was a little more cozy and comforting, although I knew and sensed there was something creepy coming. I'm gonna say Harvest Island was probably the cozier of the two, but this is a tough one, so I'm just gonna have to go with my gut. The next one is Venba versus Dordogne. Venba is a beautiful game about a family who moves to Canada, and they were originally from India, I believe, and just about how like difficult it was for them to transition, and as a mom, and just those cultures mixing. And you do a lot of cooking in this game. It has a beautiful storyline. It's a very short game. And then Dordogne has a beautiful art style as you connect with your inner child and go through like these storylines from your childhood, and I loved it. I'm gonna say Dordogne was a little more cozy for me. I liked the art style a little bit better. The game length was a little bit longer, so I had more warmth, I had a longer feeling of the warmth and comfiness from the game. So I'm gonna say Dordogne for this one. The next two games are Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood and Witchy Life Story. I loved both of these games. Cosmic Wheel of Sisterhood has a more mature audience to it. It's a little darker of a story and deeper. It has more political stuff, a little more stress than I think Witchy Life Story has. Witchy Life Story is very like goofy in some ways, and I really loved the gardening in this game and just like the gameplay of it, where it's just like, okay, you kind of know what your little tasks are each day. It has a really nice gameplay loop to it. So even though I loved both of these games, I'm gonna go with Witchy Life Story was the cozier one. Okay, and now we're gonna go back to the top. All right, so we have Coral Island versus Roots of Pacha. These are two of my favorite games. This is really tough. They both give me warm and fuzzy feelings. I love the characters in Coral Island, and I love the characters in Roots of Pacha. I love the creativity and difference of Roots of Pacha, where Coral Island highly, I feel like takes inspiration from like Stardew Valley. I feel like Roots of Pacha did its own thing, and that made me so excited and so much warmth when I was experiencing that for the first time. I also really love the animals in Roots of Pacha. I'm a sucker for pixel art as well. But I also like the difference in the art style of Coral Island for a farming game. And I really love the diving in Coral Island and just spending time doing that. But I will say that I think I lean more towards playing Roots of Pacha, and I feel more excitement for that game. And I don't know, that's just how I feel right now, so I'm gonna do Roots of Pacha. And then we have Palia versus Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. What a weird two to pair together. I can easily pick this one. Palia made me feel more overwhelmed with how big the map was, where Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life had a much smaller map, much more clear things to do during the day, because there was only so many options of things you could do. So I'm gonna say Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life was more cozy for me, because I didn't have to think so hard of what I was gonna do each day, where in Palia I was like, oh, I gotta go here, go to there, I gotta do this, I gotta upgrade this, blah blah blah. I didn't feel that way as much in Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. Okay, Ooblets versus Harvest Island. Harvest Island has a lot more clunky controls, and Ooblets is very great with their controls. Ooblets is more bright and shining and happy, and Harvest Island is more eerie and horror based, so I feel like it's very obvious to me that it's Ooblets. Oh no! Dordogne versus Witchy Life Story, that's a tough one. Witchy Life Story seems to have more casual gameplay, and even though it has puzzles with the potions, Dordogne has different puzzles throughout the game that kind of range in difficulty. So I would say if we're going with more relaxing, I'd say Witchy Life Story has a better gameplay loop and maybe more playtime than Dordogne. I don't know, I'm just leaning towards Witchy Life Story, but I feel like these two they're just like neck and neck. So we'll just go with Witchy Life Story. Okay, next bracket starting. Okay. All right, Roots of Pacha versus Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. Like I said before, I think that I think Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life might win this one because Roots of Pacha, you do have a lot more to do. It is a relaxing gameplay for me personally, but it can get confusing when you're trying to figure out puzzles in the caves and you can't figure it out, or you don't know how to open a certain area. I feel like there's more stress and less relaxing gameplay there. Not like it's not relaxing, but I do feel like Story of Seasons was more relaxing for me because there wasn't as much to do. The only options of things to do were make friends with people in the town, do the minigame with the old men in the clubhouse thingy, treehouse, and obviously go digging in the mines, upgrading, buying animals, taking care of animals, and making hybrid plants. But I tired of this gameplay quicker, but it was very relaxing for me. But this is tough. I don't know. My gut says to go with Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. Safe, comfy, and relaxed. They're both safe, comfy, and relaxed. I think I'm gonna go with Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. I just thought about it for a long time. Okay, and now we've got Ooblets versus Witchy Life Story. Ooblets is more upbeat and like makes you really happy and vibrant. So it maybe gives that more like wake up feeling, where Witchy Life Story I think is more relaxed and you could just play like right before bed, and not feel like it's waking you up, but more like it's relaxing you. So I'm gonna go with Witchy Life Story for this. This is not what I was expecting. We've come down to Story of Seasons versus Witchy Life Story. I think I'm gonna say Witchy Life Story because I feel like the gameplay loop is more satisfying and straightforward, where Story of Seasons you have to think more, and maybe that's less relaxing in some ways. And I don't know, I think I'm gonna go with Witchy Life Story. That's just what my gut says to do. All right, so we've got our first bracket done. Now I've gotta move to the other side because we've got a bunch more. We've got 18 more games to go through. Okay, so for this first bracket on the other side, we've got Alchemy Garden versus Garden Buddies. I put them together because they both said garden, but they are a little bit similar. Garden Buddies is a really cool game. It's mental health based and it teaches you mental health strategies. It's very cute. I would say it feels very much for kids, in my opinion, and I don't feel like that about a lot of games, but I like games for kids probably, but I think it can benefit adults for sure. Alchemy Garden, I'll be honest, I don't want to say the H word. I dislike this game strongly. I was very confused in the game. I didn't like the controls. I played it on Switch. So for this one, we're going with Garden Buddies because we did slow breathing and stuff in the game. Very good. Okay, next we've got Sweet Dreams Alex, which is a puzzle game where you help this girl Alex, who just moved into a new home. You like keep her nightmares from getting to her bed through all these puzzles and things. And then there's Moving Through Life, which is a game that tried to be like unpacking, but wasn't really unpacking. It's a very short game, but it was fun. You like place things in the bedroom, and then you get to the next level, and then you pick one thing to keep and one thing to get rid of, and then you go to the next level, and so forth and so on. And I would say that one was more relaxing because Sweet Dreams Alex took a little bit more strategy and thinking and thought, where Moving Through Life was just kind of placing things. Although they're both relaxing and nice, I'm gonna go with Moving Through Life. Okay, now we've got Super Mario Bros. Wonder versus Party Animals. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is somewhat stressful in terms of I'm not that smart sometimes for some of these levels. If you're like me and you don't play platformers that much, then it can be difficult and stressful, but I try to do the easy levels and I still think it's really fun and really colorful and cute. And then Party Animals, played with friends, really funny, really fun. And I would say that I think Party Animals is like you're literally fighting people and throwing them off like airplanes and stuff. But I felt like it was more funny and fun and humorous than stressful for me, even though I am competitive in that game. So I'm gonna say Party Animals, actually. I feel like I already know my answer for this one, but this one is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom versus Sea of Stars. Zelda, I tried to play in bed at night when I was like, yeah, you know, going to bed. And I was in the underground part of the game, and I was so scared and terrified. I kept getting jump scared, and I felt like it wasn't very relaxing for me. But there are definitely parts of the game that are really relaxing, but there's also parts of the games that are frustrating and difficult and really hard. And then there's Sea of Stars, which you can change your difficulty of. You can do like a lot of things to make the game easier for you. And I felt like Sea of Stars had a lot more of a cozier feel to me than Zelda, so I'm gonna go with Sea of Stars for cozier. The next one is Mail Time versus Frog's Adventure. These are both short games. Mail Time, you play as a mail scout and you deliver letters to people, and you're looking for a guy named Greg the whole game. And Frog's Adventure is a really silly, witty game where you are given a brain from a fairy that you don't really want, so you have to go around, find the fairy, and figure out all these puzzles. I did find Frog's Adventure much more difficult, and even though it was fun and quirky and silly, it was more difficult. So I'm gonna go with Mail Time. Dave the Diver versus Pixel Cafe. Pixel Cafe is a game I've just recently been playing this month, and I love it so much. I've never really played a lot of food management games, but I found out I really like them. So I put these against each other because they both have those food management parts of the game. So Dave the Diver has management like running the sushi restaurant at night, where you dive and try to get as many fish in the ocean as you can during the day. They both have difficulty. Pixel Cafe is a little more straightforward, and then it has this beautiful narrative story in between. Dave the Diver is really tough for me in terms of getting these things, and you like have to swim up above to the surface. But Pixel Cafe, it's harder, I think, to make the game easier. So I think I'm gonna go with Dave the Diver actually on this, because the gameplay switches up more frequently and provides a more relaxing experience to balance out things that are stressful in the game, where Pixel Cafe has the narrative story to help balance that out, but it doesn't feel as frequent as it does with Dave the Diver. So I'm gonna go with Dave the Diver. All right, now we're going with Sticky Business and Pizza Possum. So these, I don't know how they got against each other. Pizza Possum is a stealth kind of game where you are a possum and you eat a lot of food, and you try to get all this food in your belly, and then when you get a lot of food in your belly, you unlock a key to the next part of the game, and you're trying to get this giant pizza that you eat at the end, and you try to eat all this food and do all this stuff without getting caught by the cops that are dogs. And yeah, they'll chase you around. So it's very chaotic, and it was really hard when I first started playing the game. I'm gonna say that obviously Sticky Business, which is a sticker making game, is definitely way more cozy. It's super casual, super relaxing. You can play it more fast-paced, or you can turn settings on to make it the comfiest, coziest game around. So I'm gonna say Sticky Business. Lakeburg Legacies is a management game where you manage like relationships, and you start different families and all sorts of stuff in this town. And I didn't like this game very much at all, unfortunately. So for that one, I'm gonna say I didn't feel cozy in that game at all. Froggy's Battle is like this action roguelike silly little game where you skateboard in a circle. It's very simple and fun. You jump on these little frogs and try to defeat them and get as far as you can in the levels, and each level you get a new like ability to use. I would say Froggy's Battle felt more cozy to me. Loddlenaut versus Little Friends Puppy Island. Both of these games were very relaxing to me, but Loddlenaut has a little bit more stress in the game, I guess, than Little Friends Puppy Island, where you just play puppies and all of that, and you give them a bath, and it has this like very nice gameplay loop. Loddlenaut also has a really nice gameplay loop. I will say I did get more stressed out with Loddlenaut because I was always trying to find my way back home, where Little Friends Puppy Island, I just walked around, did some quests, figured out the quests, went home when my puppy got tired, found new puppies, washed the puppies, played it. It was very Nintendogsy and very, very relaxing for me. I played it a lot before bed. I'm gonna say Little Friends Puppy Island. So Fashion Dreamer automatically goes to the next round because I have this lingering little guy right here. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next round. Okay, we've got Garden Buddies versus Moving Through Life. This is really tough. I'm gonna say Garden Buddies is gonna win this one. It definitely helps you relax a lot more. Like, it's focused on helping you find strategies to relax. It's very cute, it is comfy, and it is safe. Moving Through Life obviously has a lot of cozy vibes to it, but ultimately I'm gonna go Garden Buddies. Okay, we have our more chaotic ones here that aren't typical cozy games, obviously, but Party Animals versus Sea of Stars. So Sea of Stars strikes me as more cozy because it has the storyline. It has, even though it has combat, Party Animals is more chaotic and you can't really play it on your own. So I'm gonna say Sea of Stars because you can relax on your own and play this one. Mail Time versus Dave the Diver. I'm gonna say Mail Time because Dave the Diver did have some scary sharks and some stressful moments for me, where Mail Time, I didn't feel like I had that lack of safe feeling. Sticky Business versus Froggy's Battle. I'm gonna obviously go with Sticky Business because Sticky Business is such a casual game where you can just spend hours making your stickers. There's not really restraints on anything. You can kind of play it your way, where Froggy's Battle is obviously a little more chaotic of a feeling, but it's still a really fun, really cute game. But we'll go with Sticky Business. And then we've got Little Friends Puppy Island versus Fashion Dreamer. So Fashion Dreamer is so relaxing and you just make outfits and play the game, and I really liked it. And Little Friends Puppy Island, you just walk the dogs and go around and things like that. This is a tough one because you got puppies versus fashion. That's so tough. But I think Fashion Dreamer is a little bit more casual gameplay, and I think I'm gonna go with that one. And on to the next round here, which I'm gonna say Garden Buddies makes it through again because Sea of Stars has a little bit more combat and things that I guess could make it less cozy. So we'll go with Garden Buddies. Okay, we've got Mail Time versus Sticky Business. So I'm gonna say Sticky Business. Sticky Business doesn't really have any strategy to it. You just play the game. Where Mail Time, you have to do a little bit of like platforming to get yourself and figure out how to get places in the game. So Sticky Business is going through to the next round, which means we have Garden Buddies and Sticky Business against each other. I think Sticky Business has more replayability. It has DLC now, where Garden Buddies, I feel like it feels less of a game-like to me than, like, even though it's more mini games. So I would say Sticky Business feels more like a relaxing overall experience, where Garden Buddies feels like maybe more strategy based for relaxation, and it might not always feel so game-like. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm going Sticky Business. Who cares? Who cares what I think? I'm business and sticky. Okay, this has brought us to the last two games against each other on the bracket, which are Witchy Life Story and Sticky Business. So I feel like I thought it was going to be really tough at the end here. They're both very cozy. I wasn't expecting this outcome. I like that I did this based on coziness and not like my favorite games. I really think Sticky Business wins this one out. I still think overall it has the most coziness to it because it's just so free of a game. You just create and pack boxes up and send out the packages. Where Witchy Life Story, you've got to figure out more potions and things. I don't know. This is tough, but I think I'm going to go with Sticky Business. Gave me the coziest feeling out of the two games here. I also feel like Sticky Business gave me more feeling of reward, where I felt like, ooh, I created that. I was creative and made this. Overall, Sticky Business wins out the whole thing. I walked through that entire thing on the spot, thinking through it as I went, so you were discovering how I thought about it through the whole video. This is my first time doing something like this, so hopefully I did it right. If you have any feedback for how I did this video, let me know in the comments below with constructive, nice criticism, because I'm a very sensitive girl. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing. I make a lot of videos on cozy games and wholesome games, so please check them out. Also, I stream on Twitch every week, so check me out there as well, and I stream on YouTube a little bit too. Thank you so much to the members of this channel. I appreciate you guys so much, and hopefully, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!